Why hello and welcome back to another episode of Voice of the Rings. I'm your host and guide, Zollin Ironshield, and this is a LOTRO guide, my friends. Alright, so you guys have all been enjoying my Lord of the Rings classes video, and I want to do an updated one for you because that one's almost a year old. I can't believe it already. So we're gonna do one for the year 2022 after the free-to-play update, which is very important for the class video. So again, my friends, let's talk about some classes today. So let's go straight into it. We're in the menu, right? We're in the Lord of the Rings Online menu, and you want to make a new class. You're new to the game, and you're here with this guide. So we're gonna click the new class button, which is down here in the bottom left. You need to make sure you have enough slots. Again, if you are a VIP player, which I do recommend, VIP is still the best, but the new free-to-play system is fantastic. The old one was as well, but the new one is so good. You can get to level 95 without VIP. But make sure you have a character slot. If you do, click new class. It's going to bring up the next tab, this one. Now, let's make sure I'm going to walk you guys through this like you're a new player, or if you're a player who just needs refreshing, haven't been here for a long time. There's obviously, you can be a male or a female character, and then that's the first choice, obviously, and then you have your race. This side is your race. There are really only 4 races besides Beorning is a race within itself. But you have man, high elf, dwarf, Stout-Axe, Hobbit, elf, and Beorning. Now, there is really not a huge amount of stuff you have to worry about when picking your class, your race, except for the fact that if you look on this side with these tabs, it will change what class you're able to play depending on your race occasionally. So for example, if I'm a hobbit, hobbits cannot be a Rune-keeper, lore master, captain, or champion, or Beorning. They can be a brawler, burglar, guardian, hunter, minstrel, warden. So that's one thing you have to think about when you're picking your race, okay? That's one thing. And then, so you can go through and decide. The next thing is, when you do choose, what's the difference, you say, between a elf and a high elf? Well, they're the same race, technically. But in LOTRO, they wanted to add in some new stuff. So anyway, basically the biggest thing is, when you create your character, that your race will change your couple simple things. Sometimes it'll change your eye color a little bit, the hair color you can use, that kind of stuff, but it's still very big variety for all of them, so you can really be whatever with your cosmetic look. And then it comes down to right here, we can just read it a little bit. I don't want to go. The high elves, those who have beheld the beauty of Valinor, and their descendants possesses grace and strength beyond even those of their woodland kin. So they assume that the elves are more of the woodland kin version, with the update when they added high elves, which long ago the elves welcomed the younger races of Middle-earth and allied with them when their need was great. But centuries of war, betrayal, and hardship have made theirs protected. Yeah, they've had some issues. So anyway, if you hover these, it will tell you their bonus traits. They're not game-changing, you guys. Okay, so with the race, it's not game-changing. So again, you can see here, Sorrow of the Firstborn. You lose 20 morale and 16 non-combat morale regen. That's a debuff for being an elf. Agility of the Woods, you get plus 15 agility. Fading of the Firstborn, you lose 7 fate. Again, these numbers are tiny. They do not go up as you level. Those are just the debuffs you get at the beginning, and they stay like that forever. It's not going to matter when you have, a -7 and you have 70,000 fate, right? Later in the game. And then Sufferer of No Illness, you get plus 1% disease and poison resistance. Now, if it's a percent buff or debuff, that's a little bit more, it might mess you up in the end game a little bit more, but you're probably fine. Don't worry about it. Beorning can only be a Beorning class. That's it, okay? So again, they have some little buffs, plus 15 might, negative less 7 that, plus poison resistance, right? All right, so again, you can look at these yourself. 15 morale. You can go through, choose which one you want. Really, all you care about is what race would you like to play for fun? And then what class do you want to play? This is where it's important. So I'm going to click on man because they have the most variety of classes they can play. And now we're going to go through the classes, the reason you're here, all right? So brawlers, but you need to know that other info was important, right? Again, they have some debuffs and stuff as well, right? Let's go from the top to the bottom. So Beorning Class. The Beorning Class, it has different benefits and bonuses. Behind me on the camera here, it actually gives you more info if you're looking at it yourself right here where I'm sitting, but I'll just tell you. There, it says it's a more advanced class. There's a little thing, class difficulty. The role, it's a damage and support class, so it's pretty cool. You can also tank a little bit with the Beorning, but it's more designed to be a more supportive class, being like an off tank, heals a little bit, that kind of stuff, and damage, all right? It says gameplay, Beornings are skin changers. You basically go from a man, you have certain abilities. When you turn into the bear, you get other abilities, okay? That's what, if you want a class. Let me give you a quick rundown, right? If you're someone who wants to just see this real quick to finish up the video, but if you don't want to go through every little thing with me. Beorning, you're a bear. You're big and scary. You have some heals, you do damage. Brawler, you punch things. Lots of punching, okay? Fun new class, it's the newest class. By the way, little side note, Brawlers are the only class you will not be able to use free to play unless you buy the newest expansion. But all the other ones that used to be have to buy the expansion to get, you can now use all classes with free to play, including the Beorning. Okay? Good to know? Good to know for you guys. And there used to be Rune-keeper and Warden as well, but now you can play them with the new free to play update in 2022 with this updated video right now, at the time of this video. Burglars, stab, 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 stealth, steal, okay? Little bit of riddles here and there, confuse their foes. That's a burglar. Captain, you buff your friends, you have a standard, you have one ally support NPC that follows you around. You have good, decent damage, you have decent heals, you're a support class. That's your thing, you're a leader, all right? Champions, swords, slashing, death, AoE, area of effect damage, okay? Champions. Guardians, I don't die, I take lots of damage. I can deal some damage and do decent AoE and side AoE support, but heavy damage takers, okay? This is my go-to class that I've been playing for years. Guardians, again, little slower on other things, can take the damage. Hunters, arrows, lots of arrows. If you like Legolas, you like hunters. Shoot things, kill things, do lots of damage, all right? You have some decent CC as well as support. Lore Masters, controller of the battlefield, okay? Pets, you get a lot of pets on this, right? Captain has a human assistant, or no spoilers, but Wraith with the captain. The Lore Master gets lots more pet choices. You get a pet bear you can use, pet lynx, pet bog lurker, pet light something creature, and there's lots of other ones too, and pet lynx. All right, so they all have different specialties and bonuses you can use. Some of them you have to earn later, some of them come with your class immediately as you level. But they control the battlefield, magic, all this stuff. They are the most magical class besides minstrels and rune-keepers. They're like the magic class. And think of like Gandalf, you know, they've got fire embers, they can shoot lightning occasionally with different things. Very fun, very good crowd control, very good support class. They're a super support class, but they can do really good damage too. Minstrels, the main healer in the Lord of the Rings Online. It's more of less of a magic power and more of like, they have like the magic of music and their spirit of healing their allies. So again, you're more of a ranged mage, is kind of what it is. You do have a sword and shield, but you rarely use them. You're mostly just screaming at people with magical powers, doing lots of damage, or you're doing your main role of healing and supporting. Rune-keepers, I'm gonna hop to the Dwarf because they can be Rune-keepers. Rune-keepers, they're very cool. They are also one of the other powerful healer classes. Besides the real, if you want to be a healer, it's Minstrel is your first choice, Rune-keeper, and then you can, Beornings can heal, and Captains a little bit, right? And Lore Masters can also heal a little bit, but they're more support heals. The Minstrel and Rune-keeper and Beorning can heal very well, but the Minstrel and Rune-keeper are the best at it. So you can go, there's pretty much Lightning Boy, where you're zapping everything. There's Fire, overtime damage, where you're doing a lot of fire. A little bit of ice magic they have. And then it's Rune magic. They're using the Rune stones to channel the energy through, as you can see him holding there. And then healing, which their healing is very good. So that is the other one. And then for the last one real quick, the Warden, all right? So the Warden is very good at hitting lots of targets. They are very hard to hit. They use medium armor, I believe. Unless they changed it. Did they change that? I don't know off the top of my head. I have to look at my Warden. But yeah, I believe it's medium armor still. But they are very good at dodging. They have all these combinations. This is a very difficult class to play because you have to memorize combinations of skill strikes. You really only have a couple skills, and you use those skills to do combinations to trigger new skills. Okay, so very fun if you want a complex class to learn, but a little bit more challenging. But a lot of long-time LOTRO players play Wardens because they're very good. They're very versatile. They have some range. They can throw javelins, but they're spear shield wielder, and they're very cool in that way. They can actually heal their allies and buff their allies with certain buff combinations too, but they're more of really good at tanking lots of adds on the side and occasionally a boss. But they can't take quite as hard of hits when they do get hit, but they have a lot of dodge. So they're really good at taking a lot of adds because they can dodge everything and block everything. So anyway, there we go. There's a quick run through for you guys. Hopefully it helped. I'm going to go a little bit more detail. I'm going to go back now. We're going to talk a little bit more detailed about each one. And if this does help you and you are enjoying, don't forget to like and subscribe if I earned it. And it's a lot of fun. And we do lots of other stuff besides guides on the channel. Guides is what I focus on with LOTRO sometimes recently, but my main content is actually a LOTRO Tale and LOTRO Adventure, which you should check out. At the end, the links will pop up at the end of the video. But again, so Beorning, we'll go into a little bit more detail. Their damage support class, we already kind of went into detail with the Beorning, but they transform, they can heal a little bit, they're good damage dealers, and they're really cool. All right. So again, now let's talk about them a little bit more. So I said punchy boy, but I'll have an in-depth class guide on brawlers. In fact, I will try to do more. I'm trying to do more in-depth guides on all the classes. I only have an in-depth guide right now on Guardians that I made a couple months back, but I have a little guide on each one after my class video I made before about each one if you want a real quick thing, but I'm going to do more in-detailed ones coming up in the future, and they might already be out, so please check the playlist that you're watching right now. The Brawler class is very good. They're heavy armor. They are really up close. Their offense defense is what their role is called according to the Stepping Stones team. They are an advanced class. They're a little bit more challenging to use. Brawlers are aggressive melee fighters who wield a unique resource called metal or whatever. The maximum their damage and fuel their most powerful skill. I would just say that type of energy that builds up, it's type of rage. So they have a rage. They don't really I believe they still cost power to use abilities, which power is the main use of abilities as he's punching, which is the blue bar usually underneath your health bar, which is the green bar. All right, so again, mana or mana is called power in the Lord of the Rings Online for players who are possibly new to the game. But yes, so Brawlers, very fun. They're the newest class. They're the least I know about at this point. I'm going to do a more advanced video on them in the near future. Probably is already out if you're watching this later. But yes, they're very good. Burglars are basically, they're called a support class, but they actually have really high DPS. They're also considered advanced by the game designers of a class to play. They have a lot. You really need to know your positioning in the game, meaning where you stand, where you're going in certain fights or stuff, because you need to know the distances of aggro ranges when you're in stealth, because they have the stealth ability. There's a lot of nuances with the Burglar, but it's a very fun class if you want to go and pickpocket their random NPCs on the bad guys on the field. Unfortunately, you can't pickpocket the people in town that are good guys, but you can pickpocket orcs and stuff and get some good loot sometimes. It's kind of fun. But yeah, so think Burglar, think Bilbo Baggins, right? Like, that's what this class is based off. Captain. So the Captain is they are very versatile. Captains are extremely versatile. They can do high damage. They can tank really well because they actually have really crazy morale. Morale is the word they use for health in the game, the green bar, morale and power. The morale is very high. They take they're just really tanky because they can heal themselves. They have an ability where they can be invincible, last stand, where they, for a few seconds, where they literally can't die. It's like Undying Rage. Okay, so captains are very good. They have a little guy that follows them around. It can be an archer. It can be a support guy that holds a banner that basically he sort of fights, but he just basically there to buff your fellowship, your team, or your raid. So they're really good. They're very good support classes. They're considered moderately difficult, which is I would categorize them the same way the Standing Stones team does. Moderated difficult. Champions, their class difficulty is basic. They're basically slash and kill, right? They can tank. They cannot tank as well as other classes but you can tank. Every class is very versatile with the different ways you could spec where you can do things, but other classes might do it better because they're designed for it, right? But they can tank. Champions can definitely tank, but they could tool hand or they could dual wield. Most people stick with dual wielding because you get more stats and you get 2 weapons to attack with. So even though two-handers usually hit harder, DPS, damage per second, comes out better sometimes with 2 hands with champions with their abilities. So anyway, they're a damage class. They have like where they can do one target more damage, and then they have like AoE damage tree where they can do tons of damage to everyone. AoE is area of effect for those who might not know what that means. Guardians, next one. Guardians, I have an in-depth class video already on Guardians. Guardians are very good. They have one tree that's very good for AoE tanking, lots of ads. And then they have another one that's designed more to make them invincible practically. They're the ones that really can tank a boss really, really well and stuff. And they're a great class. I like them. Again, try the classes out a little, see how you like them, move around. Don't stick to one class. You can always come back and delete the one if you like your name on that class and use the name real quick before someone takes it, right, on your new class to try the next class out if you want. Or just try another class out. If you like that one, switch the name, right? Little suggestion for making a new character. But again, they can DPS. They're better at one target DPS. That's not entirely true. Guardians can AoE pretty good with mobs. They can you can kind of tank with a two-hander pretty well in their shadow tree, like lots of mobs if you're an off tank, and then do decent damage too. But again, they're not designed to do full damage. They're designed to tank. That's their thing. But they're the defense role, and they're a basic class. I would say that too. They're more easy to learn. Again, hunters, another basic class, very easy to learn. Their damage roll. They do have CC, which is crowd control or area of effect crowd control. They have some things in one of their trees, but they're better at just dealing with one target and doing a ton of damage. And they have some decent AoE area of effect as well. High damage, good class. If you like doing damage, you like Legolas, you like to shoot arrows and blow things up, Hunter's your class. The lore masters, we already talked about them pretty in depth, but they are, when I said masters of the field of battle, they are definitely masters of the field of battle. They are the support class. Their class difficulty is advanced. I would definitely say that. I've played one of my secondary most played characters later in higher levels was a lore master. Grandal was his name. With my kinship, we used to do raids, and I had to do so many things because they have the ability to crowd control, like hold down enemies, debuff enemies, like debuff them, make them weaker stuff, buff their allies, giving them protection things, heal their allies, do damage, control their pet to do something else. So you are like, in some raids or instances in Lord of the Rings are dungeons. They're called instances in Lord of the Rings Online for those who are new players too. They can do everything. They're like they do everything in the battlefield. That's why they're like the support master, right? The lore master is like the support master of Lord of the Rings Online, okay? They're very high demand. Now, if you're just DPSing, it's not really too high demand because you're just blowing things up. But if you're like that person where you're like, you have to keep it to buff on your tank, you have to CC 3 of these mobs all the time or you lose the game, and with your different CC abilities, and then debuff the enemy boss, and you're healing different allies and commanding your pet to do things, it can get so challenging and your brain is just exploding by the end of the fight. So yeah, there we go. Now you have a little bit of background on them. And yes, they can heal, but it's more of support healing. If they're healing one target, they can keep that person up if they're not taking too much damage, but they're not like a minstrel. Now that we go into the minstrel. Minstrels are moderately hard. They're not basic, they're not hard. I would agree with their categorizations. They're pretty good. They're a healer. That they can be in DPS role with one target and do crazy damage, magical mage spirit damage, but they're healers. They're the best healers in the game by far still. Even though some people will be like, oh, well, captains can heal pretty good. Captains can heal good too with one target like lore masters, but minstrels are the best. They are the healer of Lord of the Rings Online. And if you are someone who likes to support your team and be the healer, be the minstrel, sing the songs, that's probably your class, guys. And it's really good for solo. If you watch our LOTRO tale, I'm playing a minstrel through that. You can see he does great damage, okay? And then we're going to talk about rune keepers, which men cannot be rune keepers. I believe it's only elves and dwarves can be Rune-keepers. They basically magically channel everything through these magical stones, and they are damage or healer. They're moderately hard. I think I would agree with moderately hard. I think that I lean more towards more advanced with them, but they're moderately hard. I think is a good categorization still. High damage. They got single target damage where they can move well. They do damage really well. Burglar, this is another thing too for hunters. They have a tree where they can run around while they're shooting. And they have a tree where you have to do inductions. Inductions in Lord of the Rings Online are when an ability takes a moment to cast, and it's little bar charges, and then your character casts it, but you can't move during it or you interrupt it. Okay, that's what an induction is. Hunters have the ability to do both. They're higher damage with their induction tree, I think, but their blue tree can do really good damage and move around as well. Rune-keepers have a lightning one where they can just run around and kite. Kiting means when you're doing damage and you're running backwards as you do damage, right? Like you're pulling a kite along, right? The bad guy's the kite, right? That's the idea. You're learning MMO terms as I teach you the classes. But the lightning is shooting, right? You just can shoot lightning. Or there's one that's more channeled over time damage that does a lot more damage to bosses, which is the fire tree. And then there's ice. The ice ones are more of debuffs and slows, or like reductions to things, ice abilities which do damage too, but they're more of debuffs. And then there is the healing tree, which is you heal a lot. You put magical barriers on your friends and you give them lots of heals. That's basically a Rune-keeper in a nutshell. They're really good. It's another character I've played a lot at higher levels, Rune-keeper. The characters I've played at high levels, so you guys know, are Guardian. I played all of these at higher levels, like being like over 50. But like being at like 110 and higher, it's Rune-keepers, Lore Masters, Guardian, and I've played some Minstrel at higher levels too. But all of them I've played well over level 50, so you can take that how you want. All right, so, and then let's go to our Hobbit friend here for the last one, Hobbit. Let's say we have a Hobbit Warden. And basically, Wardens, we talked about it already, it's an advanced class, absolutely. In fact, I would venture to say it's one of the most advanced classes to play in Lord of the Rings Online. It's a defensive role, it says. Well, there's a lot in that. Again, this thing behind my screen right now, you'll see it if you're looking at it. It's got a little description here, Warden, advanced class, role defense. I'd say, they could do really good AoE DPS, which is area of effect, DPS damage per second to those creatures they're fighting. They have a lot of bleeds. They have a lot of debuffs they can put on their enemy and buff themselves so they can't be hit. They've got a lot of dodge abilities. They also have some abilities that can heal their group, I believe. They're really good. Wardens are mobile melee combaters. They're very good at kiting. Lots of mobs. They can run around while they're doing all this, right? And they can throw javelins. And they have their spear, right? They're very good, right? The Wardens patrol the borders of the civilized lands, preventing the encroachment of fell creatures from the wild. All right. They are limited to medium armor. I'm correct, by the way, on that. So I just read the thing and it said right there. Again, so that side has all the info about the class, the race you're collected on. Again, if you clicked on it, you can go through and see Hobbit Courage. They get +1 fear resistance to shadow and mitigation. Again, if you want to know what these are, I have a guide video on stat things like that if you want to know about that on the same playlist. But we're talking about classes. So again, and behind me here where it says Warden, this has all the information of the class, but it's everything I just told you, and then like a gameplay description that you can read yourself if you'd like. And before we finish, I would just like to also remind you that there's this little button down here on the bottom that says play movie. See that? That's whatever race you're clicked on, and at the other side, right here at the bottom behind my camera, it says play for the class. So let's go ahead and just run through and play them all to finish up the video, because I think it's good. Let's do man.
The age of man is fast approaching. The chosen of a higher power, men dominate the lands of Middle-earth, both west and east of the Misty Mountains. Their strength of will and prowess at arms will decide the fate of Middle-earth, whether for good or for ill.
And again, they made that video years ago. Let's go ahead and see the High Elf. This is the newer one.
Mighty foes of evil in ages past, the High Elves, whose kind once beheld the light of Valinor, have mostly departed from the world, bound for distant shores. Some remain, however, resisting the call of the sea, and using their fading power to make Middle-earth safe for days yet to come.
All right, the Dwarf.
Calling the mountains and hills home, the dwarves are a sturdy folk. Dour-handed warriors, but also crafters of great skill. Many of their ancient halls lie in ruin, but their battle cry still resounds across Middle-earth. Baruch Kazad! Kazad Aimenu!
Baruch Kazad, Kazad, I bet you indeed. All right, and then the Stout-Axe is the new addition from Mordor expansion.
Once the dwarves of Drossa's folk, the Stout-Axes were unmade by their greed when they refused to return the ring of power granted to them by the Dark Lord. Undone by treachery and the might of the enemy in the Third Age, they were cast into servitude and have toiled evermore in the black pits of Mordor, stripped of their freedom, history, and even their own names. Many among the Stout-Axes long for the day they might rise against the Dark Lord and reclaim their lost heritage.
So they have a very cool, so every class you make, guys, by the way, has a introduction area, which I will show you something at the end here about that when we go after we go finish these videos. I want to show you that. So if you're still with me, I'll have
Hailing from the rolling green hills of the Shire and the rustic towns of Breland, hobbits are a simple folk, favoring food and good cheer above all else. But deep within even the meekest hobbit burns a spark of courage, waiting to be kindled.
Cool. And then here's the original elf.
The kindred of the elves dwell among the woods and dells, lingering in Middle-earth out of love for the land. Though their elder glory is diminished, and the day draws near when they must cross the sea, those who remain continue the ancient struggle against the shadow of the enemy.
And then the Beorning race.
Men and women of Beorn's line possess the power to take the shape of mighty and fearsome bears. As their wrath increases, so too do the strength and capabilities of their animal forms. The Beorning can harness this ability to deal damage, resist the onslaught of enemies, or support a fellowship of adventurers.
So there's their stuff. So now I'm going to start right up here at the top with Beorning on this side. There's a little play movie down here. I want to see if it's the same movie. I'm curious.
Men and women.
Okay, so it's the same one for their race because they're intertwined, their race and class. But now I'm going to go to the top and we're going to do the class videos. Again, I'm going to have timestamps at the bottom for this video, so you can skip through if you need to.
Brawlers are warriors who delight in the thrill of close combat. Scorning traditional weapons in favor of heavily armored fists, they rely on staggering blows, swift strikes, and sheer toughness to win the day. Brawlers are valuable members of any fellowship, whether laying waste to many foes or standing fast before waves of brutal attacks. They urge allies on through unbridled shows of ferocity.
Cool. And now let's say some original ones. The Burglar.
The Burglar is a master of stealth and misdirection. She is able to confound her foes with a variety of clever and debilitating tricks. She also excels at attacking from the shadows, allowing her to take her enemies by surprise.
Face kick. Nice. All right, Captain.
The Captain is a masterful leader, a commanding presence who strengthens her allies, but she is also skilled in the use of arms. Her battle cries strike fear into the hearts of her enemies, while her allies rally to her banners of war.
Very cool. And again, this Captain video was made back in the day, 15 years ago. That's why they're a little bit older looking.
Is the consummate warrior, unrelenting in battle. His fervor allows him to make increasingly powerful attacks, dealing great damage quickly and efficiently.
There you go. Yeah, it is interesting, though, if you notice the graphics when I do videos for you guys actually looks better than these original videos because they were made so long ago for the original ones.
The Guardian is a protector of the weak and defender of those in need. He is capable of withstanding mighty blows and retaliating in kind. The true Guardian stands to the forefront of battle, shielding his allies from the blows of their enemies.
That got me when I watched that video 15 years ago. I love that about the class. I've always played the tank. They have a cool ability called Turn the Tables too, where you get stunned. You can then click anyone who's close to you and stun the enemy who stuns you. It's a pretty fun little ability.
The hunter is a master of field and forest, unmatched with the bow. She uses her survival skills to guide her companions and lay traps for her enemies. The hunter is at her strongest when attacking from a distance, but is able to defend herself in melee at need.
Lore Master?
The Lore Master is a seeker of knowledge and a guardian of wisdom. He wields ancient secrets and lore to confound his foes and aid his friends, protecting them against the dark powers of the enemy.
The most basic pet ally I totally forgot. The raven or crow that he has. Minstrel?
The minstrel is the heart of a fellowship, a herald of hope and renewal. He uses his knowledge of ancient songs and lore to ward against the forces of darkness and bring relief to his companions.
There's the lore behind the healing for the class. And then the last two, Rune-keeper and Warden, these were given during the Moria expansion originally.
The Rune-keeper is a master of the powers of ancient runes. The magical qualities of these secret words can be used to turn the elements against his foes or inspire his allies to continue the fight against the forces of the enemy.
And then the Warden, which...
The Warden is a master of the spear and javelin, sworn to protect those that cannot protect themselves. At home, in the thick of melee, the Warden weaves powerful combinations of attacks to fell her foes and strengthen her own resolve against the Dark Lord.
There you go. It's pretty cool, huh? So anyway, you can read those, you can read that more and stuff. So now let's say, and again, now the new free-to-play update, you can play Rune-keepers, Wardens, and Beornings. The things you cannot use as a free-to-play player in 2022 right now with this new video I'm making is, I believe you cannot use Brawlers unless you have the expansion bot of the Fate of Gundabad expansion. And then also the High Elf and Stout-Axe. I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure that you're gonna have to, you'll know. It'll be grayed out if you can't use it, and that means you can't do it on free to play. So I believe you can only use it as a VIP with the Stout-Axe because it came with Mordor, and the High Elf. But I know you can play the Beorning though for the new free to play. You will be able to play Beorning, Rune-keeper, and pretty much everything except for the Brawler and the Stout-Axe. I think you might be able to do Stout-Axe and High Elf now. I think, or it might be just VIP. You'll have to check that yourself when you're playing. So. It'll just be grayed out and you'll know then. Or if it's grayed out, don't freak out. It might be because you can't play that race, right? So like, oh, I can't play Rune-keeper as a man. Well, go to a dwarf or an elf, and then you'll be able to play a Rune-keeper, okay? So it'll tell you. I have everything, so I can't tell you for sure. With that, I don't have a free-to-play account. So, yeah. All right, cool. So last thing I want to show you is there is an updated button down here called Avatar Update. So if you click this off and on, it'll actually show you the old avatar faces of what everyone looked like before. Now the High Elf is updated already automatically, but like here's the original dwarf face. We turn off, there we go, the original updated. And again, I almost kind of like the beard, the old one, right? But it does look up, the face looks nicer with the updated one. They're already automatically updated. The Hobbits, there's more original look updated. Again, you can totally customize the features of these characters, right? So, and then Elf, the original. There's the original look, and if you notice when you click it, see how much more defined and nice it looks with the updated. A lot nicer, right? How they've done it. Again, I believe, did they update? They were already updated. Okay, so now let's say, okay, I'm gonna pick a Hobbit, right? I'm gonna be a burglar. Okay, let's say that's someone a lot of people are gonna want to try, I'm sure. So I'm gonna say continue. Now you're gonna come to this page real quick for class, and this is customize your character. Put in your name, you can randomize, it'll automatically randomize a name. They've got a thing over here telling you of how to name if you'd like to do that, unless you have a name you already want to use, right? Of course. And then the lore about them, from where they all are, the different places. Stoor, Harfoot, Fallowhide. By the way, these were all choices originally a long time ago. Nothing to do with new stuff coming out. This is the original lore, right? Tolkien. And then it shows you their naming of all the different groups. It does change you look right above me here, see when I change the region, it changes the look of their eye colors you can choose from. Again, there's lots of options still. And then there's one right here that's hair color behind my camera. And there's a little dragging thing right here that does body type. It's real simple with the body type. It's just more buff or more well-fed, I should say. I always just drag it to the top. You can also click, there's a randomize button down here, and I can just click randomize, and it'll totally randomize your character, right? You can just use one of those if you're someone who's lazy, don't really want to think of a name or whatever. Again, if you put a name in that's already being used, like let's say my name, say create, that name is taken. Yeah, because I'm using it, right? So that's good to know. And then again, you can go through all the different things. You can lock it once you have it so you don't mess it up. Actually, I think when you lock it, it doesn't oh, it still randomizes. Nope, it does. Yeah, I'm not sure what the lock button then does if you can move stuff around still. But anyway, yeah, so you can do head, you know, your hairstyle, your eye. They've added a lot more customization than it used to have. Eyebrows, your different eyebrows, different mouth, different details, right? And then, you know, you could do different eye colors depending on where you're from, right? Fallow hide, right? Different colors. The Harfoots have their skin colors. They have a lot of different, like more of the dark tones in their skin, right? The Stores have even a reddish color up to that color. And then this is the fallow hides, right? And then you got the different eye colors, and then of course hair colors. You can drag that around on the hair color thing till you find the color you really like. And again, it's really, there's a lot of options, because if you notice the little square, wherever you put that little square on the eye color is where the tint of color you're gonna get in the eye. Same with the skin, same thing with the hair. So really, I could have many, look at all the different colors of shades I can do of that orange, just by barely moving it around. So I think that's pretty cool. And then you do the body size, and then this is the important thing at the end, for the end of the video here, guys. Use the updated avatar. Skip the new user tutorial. This is option if checked. This character will skip the new user tutorial. So there's a new user tutorial that sometimes you guys might want to do because it has a little bit of lore in it, and it's not very long. It's only a few minutes, so you could skip it if you want or don't. If you're a new player, I recommend doing it once because there's a little bit of lore for each race that you'd play, and then it's going to get you into an instance area, or the beginning area, which will be the it's like it's an instance or dungeon where you basically can't interact with anyone in the world yet except for direct messaging. And then when you get out of there, we'll finish that little area, depending on where you start, in Archit or in whatever, you'll pop out in that same area again in Archit or in Thorin's Hall or wherever you start, or Michael Delving, and then you'll be in your starting area, and then you'll be in the real world where you can communicate with everyone and start from level like 5. Because that first area will get you through the area. So, but you can skip that tutorial, save a little time. So anyway, that's how that works. And then you create your character. Boop. Right? And then you click Enter Middle Earth to actually start. Right? And then it will start you into the game. So anyway, my friends, you have a wonderful day in Middle Earth. If you don't like your character and you'd like to switch him out, and you'd like to use that name you just used, right? You're like, I don't want to play Burglar, I want to play a Hunter, but I want my name, right? I've made a new character, I've made a Hunter. I'm going to delete both of them and put my name on that other race that I want to play, because I'm only level 2 on both of them. You open this, you click delete, you're going to have to type the exact name, right? You guys can take this name if you want. The first one can take it. And then say that you took the name that was randomized for my video. And then it'll delete that character. Be very careful with that, you guys. Again, you cannot delete your main characters without typing their names, right? But just be careful. Because we put so much time into our characters, right? So anyway, my friends, you have a wonderful, wonderful day in Middle Earth. Please join us on my other videos for my LOTRO tale and everything. Quick little shout out and thank you to my wonderful Patreons for your support. Thank you to my new Patreon, by the way. I only do shout outs for Royal Guard, but evanlore.com, thank you for your support. Brand new Patreon. All right, you guys, you have a wonderful day in Middle Earth. Thank you to my Patrons. We're in Discord. You guys join the lower level $5 all the way up. You can join the Discord. We have a fun time in there. And also, free links down there to Twitter and Facebook. Those are all free. And subscribing is free if I've earned it. This helped you out. Next guy video will be up there on the top. And my main content LOTRO tales right over on the other side. So click those, check them out. You guys have a wonderful day in Middle Earth. If you watch this whole video, you're awesome. Thank you so much. I am your tongue-tied. I am your hosting guide, Zollin Ironshield, as always. Get a laugh out of that one. And I will see you guys in the next episode of Voice of the Rings, a LOTRO guide. Hope this helped you guys out. Have a wonderful day. in Middle-earth and a happy playing Lord of the Rings Online. See ya.